Hi guys, today we're making a chocolate cake and I'm gonna show you how I usually do it. This is my personal preference. I'm not saying you need to follow the directions. I've already preheat the oven to 180 degrees Celsius. So here I'm just lining the cake pan with neutral oil and some cake flour. I usually use oil because I find it better. For me, it works like magic. The cake doesn't stick to the pan. So after making sure the pan has been coated, I put it in the freezer and I'll take that out when I'm ready to use it. The first thing we're gonna do is take an empty container and we're gonna bloom the cocoa powder. The blooming process is just taking a spoon of cocoa powder and sweetened cocoa powder and then mixing it with coffee. I usually use 2 sachets for a 1 kg cake. So I'm just adding the coffee to the cocoa powder. And then after I've put that inside, I'm going to take very hot water and I'm going to pour it to the mixture. The water has to be boiling hot. I pour it to the mixture and I'm just going to stir it and make sure everything is combined. Once that's done, I'm going to set it to the side because I'm going to use it in the cake batter later. Then I take a mixing bowl. It has to be dry, free from water, and I'm going to separate the egg yolks from the egg whites. You have to make sure no yolk touches the egg whites. Otherwise, your mixture is not going to be as stiff as you need it to be. As you can see, there's a little bit of egg yolk in the bowl, and I realized way too late. Well, I proceeded with whatever it is I was doing, so I took my hand mixer and started whipping up the egg whites until it formed bubbles. This is the part whereby you switch the hand mixer off and then you add like a 1/4 cup of sugar. Once you add that 1/4 cup of sugar, you have to continue whipping it until it forms medium soft peaks. Now from soft peaks to medium soft peaks. And then you add another 1/4 cup of sugar and continue whipping until it forms stiff peaks. Now, mine could not get to stiff peaks because there was a drop of egg yolk in the egg white. So it didn't get to the consistency I wanted. But regardless, I just whipped it and got it to where I could. So after whipping all that and making sure the egg whites have reached the stiff peaks, you set it aside. You're gonna use it later. You move to now mixing the wet and dry ingredients. But first, we're gonna make our own buttermilk because I didn't have any buttermilk. So I'm just gonna take a cup of milk, plain milk, and then pour it in a cup, a full cup. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take white vinegar. Um, I'm gonna use the bottle top to measure, so I'm gonna do 1.5 for the 1 cup, and I'm gonna pour that inside. Then I'm gonna just stir it a bit, and to make sure everything is combined, I'm gonna set it to the side because it's a process that takes 2 to 3 minutes to form buttermilk. So I'm gonna put that to the side. I had already put oil in the mixing bowl. I usually use oil. In fact, the best chocolate cake uses oil. So I had oil and my egg yolks, and now I'm adding 2.5 cups of sugar. Then I'm gonna add like a bottle top of vanilla to the mixture. Um, please don't eyeball. I'm a professional, so I'm eyeballing, but don't eyeball. You can use a teaspoon of vanilla. So yeah, after adding the vanilla, I'm gonna use my hand mixer again, and I'm gonna make sure everything is combined. That's the oil, the egg yolks, and the sugar. I whip it up until everything has come together. Be sure not to over whip. Just make sure everything is combined. And then you'll add your flour. I added 3 cups of flour to the mixture. And I took a pinch of salt. Please don't eyeball. take a pinch of salt because I eyeballed. Again, I'm a pro, so I eyeballed. So you take up like a pinch of salt and add to that mixture. And then I'll take my cocoa powder and I just pour it in. Yeah, all of it. I just poured it in. It wasn't too much. I knew it was enough, so I just poured that in. And then I'm gonna take my ready buttermilk and I'm gonna add it to the mixture, all of it, the 1 cup. And at this stage, if you're not using a stand mixer, please use your spatula to make sure everything is mixed fast, because if you start with whisking with your hand mixer, the flour is going to go everywhere. So just make sure you mix it with your spatula fast. And then after that, once the liquid has mixed up with the dry ingredients, you will take your bloomed cocoa powder and then you're gonna add it to the mixture. You're still gonna fold it in. Just be gentle, be patient, fold it in, and just make sure everything is combined. Once you've done that, you're gonna take your hand mixer at this stage and you're gonna start mixing the cake batter at medium speed, not high speed, medium speed, because you don't want to overmix it. You overmix it, your cake is gonna go to the oven and it's gonna form a huge dome and you're gonna end up cutting the top. So just mix it on medium speed. Once you realize everything is combined and there's no flour anywhere, you can't see any sign of flour, that is when you stop. You don't continue whisking, you stop there and you no longer need the hand mixer. Put it aside, and then we now introduce the egg whites mixture into the cake batter. So what we're going to do, we're going to take our whipped up egg whites and we're going to pour it to the already mixed up cake batter. Just make sure you get everything in at this point. And then once you have everything in, you're going to fold it. You're not going to stir it. You're going to fold it gently as possible. You will get tired. Your hand will get tired, but you just have to fold it. Just fold it gently and make sure everything is in there and everything is well combined. You make sure everything is well combined at this stage, but don't overmix. You just have to keep folding it in. Once all of it is well combined, I took my cake pan from the fridge and I poured in the cake batter. And yeah, I just made sure I got every little bit of it. Nothing goes to waste over here. You can see on the other end, there's a little bit of cake batter. The client wanted chocolate cupcakes as well. So I just took a little bit of that butter and put it on the side because I'm going to use it for the cupcakes. And then at this point, I'm just going to tap the cake pan on the counter to release any air bubbles. I'm just going to do that a little bit while I spin it around. Spinning helps with the cake not forming a dome as well. So that's another method you can use if you don't want a dome. Now, all my cakes I usually put foil on top because the sides tend to bake faster than the top. So, and then it raises the cake again, it forms a dome, and I don't want a dome on my cake. So that's why I'm using a foil to cover it. And then once it's ready, I'm just gonna put that in the oven to start baking at 180 degrees Celsius for an hour. And then the cake batter that remained, as you can see, I'm just gonna add it to the other mix that is going to be making the cupcakes. Now, for me, when you order a cake, you get 12 free cupcakes. Anything below 1 kg, you get 6 cupcakes, but I don't charge you for that. That's for free. So that's why I'm doing cupcakes because the client wanted a chocolate cake and chocolate cupcakes. So at this point, I'm taking my cupcake liners and I'm gonna line it with the cupcakes and all that. And then, yeah, we're gonna give it some time for the cake to bake. So here's the chocolate cake. It's done. As you can see, there's no dome formed. It has a flat top. That makes me very happy because I really hate domed cakes. And then I'm gonna take my parchment paper. I never wrap my cakes and I never put them in the fridge. So I just take a parchment paper and then I'm gonna sprinkle a little bit of sugar. Um, this helps retain the moisture in the cake. So once the cake is warm to touch, not too hot, not too cold, you put the sugar on the parchment paper and then you turn the cake upside down and you remove it from the pan. As you can see, it's come out very easily. Nothing has remained on the pan. It didn't get stuck. It didn't, it came up very easily. The flat top is right there. So, and it's very soft and very moist. So for me to be able to retain that moisture, I'm just gonna leave it on the counter, on top of the parchment paper with the sugar. And then I'm gonna return the cake pan on top and I'll get back to it tomorrow to decorate it. So yeah.